welcome to Chris's Corner. I'm Steph, and I'm here with I'm going to start again because I tapped my mic.
It's too bad. That was great banter before you.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh well.
Hey everyone, welcome to Chris's Corner. I'm Steph, and I'm here with the one and only Chris Price. And it is a privilege to be hosting the host of Chris's Corner.
Wow,
so welcome.
That's very kind.
Yeah,
of you to be here and also to say those nice words.
I am pretty kind. I like to think so.
That's true. That's true. What people wouldn't know watching this is that I actually performed your wedding to your husband, Bryce, and it was a wonderful day.
Yes.
And in premarital counseling, I learned that you are very kind. So
wow, I'm
glad you're here.
Yeah, you're kind and Deandra's also kind. So
right.
I would recommend that everyone does premarital with Chris and Deandra.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a little plug for you.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to hop into chatting about the sermon on Sunday. And so I'd love you just to give a little recap.
Sure. This is week 5. We're finally in chapter 2 of Ephesians. It's a bit of a hard-hitting chapter. And in fact, I told this little story in the sermon about a guy who's walking down the street and falls in a hole. And he can't get out. And a doctor walks by, he says, "Doc, help me out." Doc writes a prescription, throws it down, he's still stuck. Same thing happens with the priest. Finally, his friend Bob walks by and he's like, "Bob, come help me out of this hole." And Bob looks at him and jumps into the hole beside him. And the guy's like, "Dude, what? Now we're both stuck."
It's such a good picture.
Yeah, and because Bob goes, "Oh, well, no, I've been down here before and I know the way out. Kind of follow me." Which is kind of a beautiful picture, I think, of what we're called to do in each other's lives. But I used it in the sense of like Paul is actually saying that all of humanity has dug a hole and fallen into it and can't get out of it. So we need outside help and intervention. We can't just send our friend home to get a ladder because our friend's in the hole with us. And so it's pretty bleak terms like dead in transgressions and sins, following the way of this world, the cravings of our sinful nature, under God's wrath and our natural state. It wasn't really a pick-me-up, I would say.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough start, but I'm glad we worked our way up from there.
Yes, totally. And so there's a moment where Paul transitions and he says, "But God." And really that's the start of the gospel, this good news. But God went into the hole in Jesus to lift us out, to make us alive, and to rescue us, which is pretty awesome.
And one thing that really came to mind as you were speaking is how can we be like that as a church? Like how can we practically live that story out of getting in the hole with others in our congregation, walking with people like the Lord does with us? Yeah,
well, I think when you phrase the question that way, I'm reminded of this study they did on pain tolerance where they brought a person into a room and they had to stand in an ice bucket and time them to see how long they could endure the pain. And then they did it again, but this time the person was allowed to have a friend or family member in the room providing support while they stood in the bucket of ice.
Okay.
And across the board, it doubled the amount of time the person could endure the pain. The presence of another loving person doubles the amount of time. And so there's a sense in which instead of providing easy answers or the odd devotional thought or just a nice letter, we actually enter in to someone's situation and sorrow and be a loving presence, sit with them on their mourning bench and be with them. And that's really following in the pattern of what God has done for us in Jesus. He did jump in the hole and we didn't deserve it. We didn't earn it. We sometimes treat others like I'll only help that person if they earn it or deserve it. What if God did that to us? I'll only give to that person if they show that they've earned it or deserved it. It's like, well, what if God treated us that way? He didn't. And that's what Paul says. He says, by grace we've been saved. This is not of ourselves. It's his gift. And that actually profoundly changes how we view ourselves and how we treat each other and the type of culture that gets created in a church.
And I really like the story that you used of the job interview versus a doctor's waiting room of, oh, we're working as hard as we can, we're dressing our best for this job, we're hiding all of our flaws. But no, we actually want to be people that admit that we're sick, that we bring to ourselves to a state of vulnerability and authenticity. And I think that really helped me build a picture of what kind of church we want to build.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that is most, I think, repugnant to people is like pride and self-righteousness. Mm-hmm. And what the gospel should do, because we're not saved based on anything we have done or our goodness, but what God has done for us in Jesus. What the gospel should do is kill off pride and kill off self-righteousness. We're all in need of outside intervention. We're all broken in different ways, yet we're all loved so profoundly and so deeply. And I think there's this religious spirit that says, I need to earn my acceptance with God. It's based on what I do. Mm-hmm. And usually that leads to pride when we think we're doing well, or despair when we realize we're not. And it leads to us hiding our weaknesses and overworking to prove our worth and hiding our flaws and not being vulnerable with people because we're not sure if we're truly deeply loved for who we are. Mm-hmm. But the gospel says actually we are. God knew all that was true. You were dead in your sin. It's worse than you think. You were in a worse state than you thought. Yeah. And that God loved you this much. And so it gives us a humble confidence in our relationship with others.
Mm-hmm. And now I'd love you just to chat a little bit more about the good works that the Lord prepares for us.
Right. That's a cool part. At the end it says that we are God's workmanship. The Greek word there could also be translated as poem. That our lives are like a poem that God's writing. I don't know if someone's like artsy, they like that kind of imagery, right?
It's very nice. Not artsy, but it's cool.
Right. Yeah. You could imagine how someone else would like
definitely
that
appreciate it. Yeah.
We're God's workmanship, made beautifully by Him, and He's prepared good works in advance for us to walk in. So we're not saved by our good works, but we're saved to His good work. Our good works aren't the root of our salvation, but they are the fruit of our salvation, that God's love does change us, and that He has specific good works planned for each of us, that we get to join Him in putting together the broken pieces of the world as He heals the broken places in us by using our gifts and passions and talents and abilities. And I would just say to everyone, like the good works God has prepared in advance for us, that is the path to meaning and joy and fulfillment. It's not the path to burnout. Mm-hmm. Like we burn out when we take on good works that weren't prepared in advance for us. Mm-hmm. We take on someone else's good works, maybe to prove our own worth to others. And it's like, no, God has actually prepared in advance good works.
And so how would somebody who they hear this and like, I don't know what good works the Lord has prepared for me, right, or I don't know what I'm good at, like where should I start?
Right. I would start just with like your subjective passions and desires and the things that break your heart, the things you really care about. That's indicative of how God's wired you. And then I would look for people in my life as well who could call out what I'm good at, people who know me, who love me, who will speak life into me, and who will remind me of how I'm uniquely wired and gifted. And then I would just try things. I would just do a lot of different things and see what seems to connect with your passions, is affirmed by others, you're good at this, and seems to almost have God's like blessing and hand on it. And then I'd be patient, I'd be patient. And I wouldn't get too grandiose. Mm-hmm. I would start small and be faithful in the little things. So like every day, today is a good day given to me by a good God, filled with good works that He's prepared in advance for me to walk in. So I just pray, help me see those good works as I discern maybe vocationally what You're calling me to do.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for all your wisdom and insight. Oh, wow. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I don't have any final thoughts.
Okay, on that, we are going to wrap up Chris's Corner and send it on over to you. So we're going to hop right into discussion.
That's great.
Thank you.